Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. One of my favorite things to cover on this channel and all the rest of my channels that we've had for a very long time out here, my entire time covering all of this Hollywood entertainment sphere, is numbers, right? Ratings, hard box office numbers, hard returns on all of that kind of stuff. Ratings, numbers, whether it be Nielsen, whether it be Samba, whether it be any of the rest of the stuff. Why? Because numbers do not lie. No matter how much the woke cult out there tries to tell you that 2 + 2 = 5, it does not. Ladies and gentlemen, and there's no doubt about it out there that Rings of Power has been an absolute abysmal disaster for Amazon, a series that cost them $1 billion and has lost consistently half of its audience from season 1 to season 2, from the very first episode to the very last episode of season 1. It lost over 60% of its viewership, and it's only gotten worse since then. Well, after the fact that the show finally ended after dumping its first 3 episodes trying to pad their numbers in the very beginning, the season finale finally premiered. This whole abomination is finally over, at least until the next season, because they claim they're going to do 5, and please, for the love of heaven, do it so I can continue making fun of your $1 billion disastrous dumpster fire. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some numbers in already for this week from none other than the Hollywood Reporter, and it is glorious because Rings of Power did not come in very well whatsoever, and it got beat by a literal rerun from 7 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to check out this little hype right here, get into some of the Rotten Tomato scores as well, giving you an idea of why the ratings are so abysmally bad for this show. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share it with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, because we're grinding, we're growing, boys and girls, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Let us know what you think about this. Is this hilarious? Is this the biggest waste of $1 billion you have ever seen in your life outside of the government institution? Or do you think this is an absolutely wonderful show and you cannot wait to see what happens in the 3rd season? Let us know what you think about all of that in the comment section down below. So from the Hollywood Reporter, we got the streaming numbers officially announced this morning. They put this out there, and holy God, apparently Jeff Bezos and all the rest of those guys aren't paying enough numbers out there, because the headline over here was streaming ratings. The Perfect Couple hits #1 with a big chart bow. And I looked at this and I went, oh, really? Wow, it's worse than that. Because the Rings of Power comes as number 4 for the week of streaming. Now, maybe that's not so bad. Maybe you don't think that's so bad. I mean, 1 billion minutes watched. We don't know exactly how that compares to everything else as far as all of the different stuff against Samba and all of that other kind of things out there. But it is number 4. What is it behind? The Perfect Couple, like the headline said, with 1.9 billion minutes. Family Guy, a series that has literally been around for over a decade at this point. It's on Hulu, mind you. 1.6 billion. Prison Break, boys and girls, a series that is 7 years old and has no new episodes coming out at this current time. Prison Break, 1.04 billion minutes, right? 40 million minutes more than the Rings of Power, who came in at 1.01 billion. And literally the next one right behind that is Bluey. And the only reason Bluey is not #1 like it was all summer is because guess what? The kids are back in school. But literally, look how abysmally bad this is. This is a disastrous dumpster fire. You are getting Jeff Bezos. You are getting beat by a 7-year-old show that is playing reruns on 2 different streaming services. That is pathetic. You wasted $1 billion on disrespecting Tolkien and disrespecting the lore, and you can't even pay the top critics enough to get you a higher score than 70%. Hell, you can't even get the all critics to get you up to the scores you got last year. And we know that these are the simps for the spirit of the age. These are the access media. That's why we don't pay attention to these. These people actually have bosses they have to report to at jobs that they will get fired from if they don't give accurate reporting on. That's the difference between top critics and all critics. 70%. But of course, at the end of the day, what matters the most is the audience score, boys and girls, because you're the ones that watch. Your guys are the ones that make the difference. You are the fans. You are the nerds. You are the geeks. You are the customer. And the customer is always right. And what did you give this? A 58%, 5,000 plus ratings. It's a miracle that many people even bothered to go in here and give it a rating with considering how bad these numbers are. 3.1 out of 5. And why has this series failed? Well, you decide to not only make it a wham empowered nonsense, with Galadriel being the bestest ever on absolutely everything and can take out a troll with one swing of her sword, while the rest of her crew out there, the guys that supposedly she's been hunting Sauron with for 1,000 years, just stand there and look like idiots. Okay? First off, from a military standpoint, that's a really shitty commander, okay? Why have you spent 1,000 years with these other elves and not trained them to be at least close to the level you were at? Oh, that's why we know, because it's wham and power and her agency and all of the rest of the kind of nonsense. Then you completely and totally screw up the storyline and how things historically actually happen inside of the Silmarillion, inside of Tolkien's great work. Also, that way you can run your Tumblr fan fiction so you can all go out there and flick your bean to the Sauron and Galadriel shipping situation. But then you make it even better and you have Celebrimborn out there decide to go out and make out with his mother-in-law. Yes, Galadriel's daughter is who marries him. And boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that is just a microscopic in view into the absolute abomination that is Rings of Power. $1 billion disastrous dumpster fire for Amazon. And maybe $1 billion isn't that much to Jeff Bezos. Maybe it's just pocket change to him. But everyone in Hollywood is laughing at you. They had to pay extra money to get people to work for them on this series. And guess what? You didn't come even close to getting the most talented people. Why? Because you thought nerds and geeks were stupid. You thought we were just a bunch of fucking losers that would show up to anything that had elves and non-hobbits in it and a fancy little not wizard that is just now found out is Gandalf. Oh, spoiler alert. And a Tom Bombadil who is nothing like Tom Bombadil from the books. You thought just because you would slap and absolutely destroy and disrespect Tolkien's name and Tolkien's work. You thought just by slapping the name of Lord of the Rings on it after all of the success of Peter Jackson and how much he stuck to the lore and to the feel and for the way and the sentiments of what Tolkien's books were, which is why that will go down as the greatest trilogy in cinema history, where this abomination of a Rings of Power will be nothing more than a textbook lesson on how to burn $1 billion faster than anyone has ever seen. You disrespected Tolkien. You decided to go just make nothing more than your silly, real ridiculous Tumblr fan fiction and bad Tumblr fan fiction on top of that. Also, that way you could go out there and go, yay, we're part of Hollywood now. Not only are all the fans laughing at you, mocking you, and ridiculing you, but so is the rest of Hollywood. A 70% Jeff Bezos? This is a disastrous dumpster fire. And why did this happen? Because you decided to hire a psychopathic feminist out there who hates men and wants everything to be wham and power forward. And is once again, because you bragged about it. This is an all-women director season. Everybody, every episode's directed by a woman. Some of them have 4 or 5 women. Why? Because you needed 4 or 5 of them to do the job of one man? Probably. This is pathetic. This is sad. And this is disrespectful. And the best part of all of this is, no matter how many pats on the back you get from all your little simps out there, Jeff Bezos and Jen Psaki and all the rest of you little psychopaths over there at Amazon, no matter how many pats on the back you get, no matter how many blowjobs from interns you get, it won't make a difference. Because you just lost $1 billion on a disastrous dumpster fire because you decided to go wham and power instead of just properly adapting Tolkien's lore. You wasted money on not being able to get everything, and so you ended up giving us nothing. You thought you were going to push a pro-woman agenda just like all of the rest of this nonsense. And guess what? We all love women. Men love women. It's how we procreate. But when you make obnoxious, ridiculous, overpowered, and nonsensical characters, men and women equally hate this show. That's why, Jeff Bezos, Rings of Power, your absolute abomination and disrespect to the great Professor Tolkien's work, is getting beat by 7-year-old television show and its reruns. Way to burn $1 billion, Jeff. After all, you did it to yourself and you get exactly what you deserve.